I don't know how, if it was Karen and Foggy in cahoots. I don't know how they do that. But what if Karen got in contact with Elektra?
Yeah, exactly.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Comic Room Pod, episode number 34, aka the Shaquille O'Neal podcast.
Shaquille O'Neal and Earl Campbell. I'll go with Earl Campbell.
Earl Campbell,
1970s running back legend. Someone else will say Bo Jackson probably or something.
Yeah, there you go. That's
but you got to go Shaq. Come on.
Yeah, Shaq.
Shaq is the king.
He is. Yeah, he's
Shaq.
The greatest big man that could have been if he had the work ethic.
Can't blame him for not having it because he was just so dominant he didn't even need to.
Yeah, exactly. But anyways, thanks for clicking here. Even though we just talked about sports in those first few seconds, we are a comic media focused podcast.
Yes.
And today is a big week, especially for the both of us. If you're new here, you wouldn't understand why. But if you've been watching or listening for a while now, you would know that Daredevil is our favorite, pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, got some others in there. We got Spider-Man, FF, but Daredevil is definitely up top.
Really hooked me into comics back in the 80s. And yeah.
So, the bridge that I need to connect that statement is because Daredevil Born Again has released earlier this week, the first 2 episodes. So we got a lot to talk about. So show and tell we're probably going to speed run through that. And then news, there's really not much news. So we're just going to.
The decks are cleared, man. We can talk.
Oh, there is one bit of news, but yeah, that we won't talk about because it's kind of like this. We'll get there when we get there. But anyways, if you enjoy this podcast, give it a like. Give the channel a subscribe if you haven't already. Send it to a friend that you think might enjoy this podcast as well. I would really appreciate that. Yeah. Follow us on Instagram. I'm at Spros_comics. And Mr. Longbox is at Mr. Longbox.
Yep. You
can find us there where we post books. I'm always posting books for sale and other types of
exhilarating content every day.
Yes. So my shrine is up.
I see.
I pulled out everything. I replaced the Funkos here, the Avengers Funkos with all my Daredevil Funkos. And then I got my Matt Murdock from No Way Home action figure here, Daredevil figure, my Charlie Cox, Frankie Miller, John Bernthal signed comic book. And then here on the wall, I'm actually pretty proud of the way that I arranged this. Well, first let me talk about this poster. We got the Ben Affleck Daredevil official movie poster. Honestly, incredible suit. I love his suit.
Yeah.
The leather latex and the mask I think is great. But here on the wall, which is the stuff that you guys for sure care about, are Daredevil's issue 1. Now check out the way I arranged this. Daredevil issue 1. Daredevil issue 2 on your side. Back on my side, I have Daredevil issue 3, 4, 5. And on your side is 6, 7, 8. And here's where the connections go. Well, I mean, it's all been connected. Here on my side, ASM 50, first appearance of Kingpin. Mirrored on your side is Daredevil issue number 9, the first appearance of Echo. And we know there's a connection between them and the MCU.
Yep.
And then, and in the comics too. And then here on my side, the last comic is ASM 129, first appearance of Punisher. And then mirrored on your side is Daredevil 168, the first appearance of Elektra.
Love it. I love it.
It's so good.
Yeah, it's nice. Nice arrangement.
Yeah.
I don't even know what my favorite book is on this wall, honestly. I mean, who's not going to say Daredevil 1 because of what it means? But,
True.
But you know how I feel about this book right here.
Yep.
I absolutely love this book. This book right here is one of my favorites because I think it's the dopest cover in all of the first 10 Daredevils. Stiltman. You just can't beat that cover. I'm sorry. Stiltman needs to show up in MCU.
Yeah. Heck yeah. All right. Let's get into show and tell.
Okay.
I'll go first.
All right.
So a couple weeks ago, there was an incident that I had where I bought a book from eBay. It's got stolen. I like the theory that somebody commented that this might have been an inside job from USPS.
Oof, that's frightening.
Yeah, right. But we ended up getting the book back. Not safe-ish, but not the way that I had ordered it.
Yeah.
So basically somebody had found the box in an alleyway, like down the street, and brought it back to USPS. I was already kind of starting a process with the USPS to figure out where in the world my package is. So then they ended up calling me. They said, hey, somebody brought it back. Why don't you come check it out? So go and check it out. Case, like a third of the case is missing. The inner well is just floating around. And yeah, I have a broken slab on my hands. Ended up messaging. I chewed their ear off a little bit at USPS, left. Ended up messaging back and forth with the person on eBay. Told them the situation, told them I could get proof that this wasn't, like, I'm not trying to scam them out of something.
Yeah.
So I told them, hey, like, I'll ship this back to you, for a refund. But if you're open to the idea, if you want to sell it to me as a raw copy and just cut out the hassle, I could do that too. So we negotiated, we came to an agreement on a raw price. And so I bought it at the raw price, pressed it, cleaned it, sent it off to CGC, and I've got it back. So this is a copy of Fantastic Four 49 for any of you who don't remember. This was a 6.0 copy. It had a custom label, and it was white pages. So this was going to be an upgrade to my personal collection. If you remember on the wall, if you watched the podcast, remember on the wall, there was a copy right there. It was a 5.0 off-white pages with the custom label. So I was hoping to go full step up into a 6.0 and to get white pages because I've been a white page hunter recently.
All right, let's see how you came out.
So this week got it back. 6.0 off white to white pages.
Oh, wait a minute. What? Wait.
Yeah.
So, somehow in all this, the clean and press didn't change anything except that it went from white to off-white pages?
Yep. So it's hard. I want to be frustrated, but it's also tough because I got that from a 6.0 off-white to white, and now that's a 7.0 white pages, and that being my ASM 129. So there's nothing that I did to increase the page quality there. And that book, like, people do seek after
the white page,
the 129 and a white pager. Like, it actually, some books you don't really see like a change in price. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. But for ASM 129, you actually will see like a $200-$300 gap between.
I get that because there's more copies of it, so you can be a little more choosy about which one of those copies you want.
Yeah.
And I mean, if there's 10 copies and one of them's white pages, who's not going to go for the white pages? I pay extra for it. Bummer, man.
Yeah.
Well, it's a great, but still though, you got, for the price you ended up paying for this, a 6.0 is still a really good deal.
Yeah. I mean, I'll sell it and I'll make money.
Yeah.
But that's not why I bought that. I didn't buy it to sell it and to make money.
It's really nice though. It's clean.
Yeah, it's sharp.
And
so.
it didn't look like it got any damage from all the shenanigans with the post office.
Yeah,
so
no.
I don't think that anything. Well, the grade didn't go down, so
right,
and it wasn't left out to make it go from white to off white either.
Yeah,
still in the well.
When I was negotiating with the person, they were like, with the person I bought this from on eBay, they were like, "Well, is the book damaged?" And I was like, "I mean, it's kind of hard for me to answer that because I don't really know." I'm just going to say, no, it's not. It looks fine. Like, it looks like it was kind of intact. And there was, like, on the inner well, you could see they tried to break into it a little bit, but they couldn't get in, which is why I think they ended up just leaving it in the alleyway.
We've talked about it before, but it's such a mystery to me. Like, that somebody knew enough about it to know they need to come out of the slab if they were going to try to resell it. But they didn't know enough about it to think it might be a bad idea to try to not use a razor to get out of the inner.
Yeah.
It's weird, right?
It's so bizarre. But
yeah.
Anyway, so I'm going to hold on to it. Mm-hmm. And then when another white pager comes around, one just went up on Elite a couple weeks ago. And I know the guy who bought it. So it's also a 6.0. It's a white pager. It's got the custom label. It was listed at the exact same price that I bought or that I would have bought mine for had I not, the whole situation happened. So I know him because he's bought some books for me. So I might DM him and just be like, hey, like, are you interested in like a trade?
Yeah,
I saw you claim it. Like, I have this copy. I'll trade you and I'll add 10% cash on top.
Sure.
So,
Yeah. See what happens. Well, it's a great book either way.
yeah.
And now you have a story. So
yeah, exactly. So
it's not really much of it.
Whoa.
What happened there? Did I just move the camera?
Yeah, you moved the rug.
If you're watching this and you're dizzy, that's because I somehow grabbed the rug with my feet. So anyway, on that note, is everybody still in focus? Is everybody still?
Yeah, I think everything's good.
All right. Here's my show and tell. On my Instagram, if you follow me on Instagram, you may have noticed I recently put up a post, and it's from a picture that I took at San Diego Comic-Con from when you and I went.
Yes.
And I remember taking it. I remember wanting to post about it, and then I forgot that I had taken this picture. And I know I was going through my pictures the other day, and I found it. I'm like,
that's what happens when you're sick. You just
I was sick for a couple days this week, and I mean, I know I really, it's all I could do. Seriously, what I was doing, I'm like, drooling, it's terrible. But anyway, I see this. It's this photo of a wall at this vendor at SDCC. Probably a dozen versions of Hulk 181, from like a 8.5 all the way down to a 2.0, and almost every increment along the way with different prices. And it was, I mean, you had to be impressed. Like, you had to just go, I've never actually seen that before.
Yeah.
And I took a picture of it, but I took a picture of it at the time because I thought it was amazing. But since that time, I've noticed that I've been spending a lot more of my large book investments have been on Golden Age books, and not on the Bronze Age keys for sure. And the only Silver Age keys have been the FFs that I've been hunting. So, but I've been really diving into Golden Age. And so when I looked at this picture on my phone, I realized, I think that was the moment that I really sort of committed to seek out Golden Age. And that was what I put on my thing. That was the caption of that image on Instagram. The moment I became a Golden Age collector. I've always been a Golden Age lover and have some Golden Age, but actually seeking them out. So this is a book that is part of that time frame between SDCC and now that I picked up in Golden Age. And I don't think I've shown it. If I have, I apologize. It's been a kind of a fuzzy week for me.
Yeah.
But I don't think I've shown this one yet. And it's one that I got on a claim sale, and it's an odd one because I'm not really a Western guy, but it's Gene Autry Comics issue number 1, which is it's really series 2 for Gene Autry. Gene Autry Comics. There was an earlier series that ran 1941. This one, I think 43. This one ran beginning 1946, and this is issue number 1 of this. So,
wow.
And it's cool because and it's a 6.5 cream to off-white pages, which I'm fine with that for a book from that's, almost 100 years old. And it's cool because back then they didn't even sell ads on the back. It's just, they just used it for more comics.
Part of the story.
Yeah. That's one of my oldest books now. I've got, my oldest one is is a wartime, Captain Marvel War Stamp book from 1944. I think I've shown that on the pod before. But anyway, this is they're surprisingly inexpensive. Not a lot of people, go for the Golden Age Westerns, I guess. But it's a Gene Autry, and it's an issue number 1. And Gene Autry is the second oldest comic book, if you want to call him a hero. I mean, he is a hero. I was about to say superhero, but hero. First one would be the Lone Ranger. And the Lone Ranger, of course, is on radio long before then. But Gene Autry, right behind him, just a couple years later in Gene Autry Comics, the Singing Cowboy and the former owner of the California Angels, back when they were called the California Angels. Yeah. So kind of a cool book.
Yeah.
Right? And getting back to my point about all those Bronze Age Hulks on the wall, there's nothing wrong with that. Like I love I got a lot of great Bronze Age. I got a lot of fun stuff from the 80s and 90s, and it's great. And I don't mind that there's a lot of them. But there is something really fun about getting a book and looking on the census and seeing there are only 7 in this grade or higher of this book. There are 4 copies of this book in a 6.5 on the census at all, and only 3 or 4 others in any grade higher than that.
Wow.
So that's that's really kind of fun. Like you can get genuine scarcity in Golden Age. And if you want scarcity in Silver Age, you can get it, but you have to get higher, pretty high grade. And if you want scarcity in Bronze Age, I don't even know if you can really get true scarcity in Bronze Age because there's just a lot of them. And then, hey, that's fine. But they're also really awesome books. But anyway, I like getting a book and I go, yeah, there's not a lot of these around in the world, right?
Yeah.
And it's an issue 1, so it's cool. Anyway, happy to have it.
Nice.
It did not spiral me into a Western, Western hunt yet. But I did pick up after this one or before this one a Lone Ranger. But I've resisted a few since then because I've got bigger.
Yeah, for sure.
And I've got a few things on the way that I might need to do. I might have to bring 2 show and tells next week.
All right.
Because if these 2 books, these things go through and they're both in my possession, I'm not sure how I could possibly decide between which of the 2.
Fair enough.
So stay tuned.
Make sure you're back. All right. So news. It's only really one piece of news. Just a little bit of a disclaimer. I'm not going to put any pictures of what we talk about on the screen. Normally I do, but this is like leak territory. And so just
we're reputable here.
yeah, if you want to go look this up yourself, you're more than welcome to. But if you watch this and we're hoping to not have what we're about to talk about spoiled, then yeah, I'm not going to throw that out for you. And I'll talk in vague terms when describing these photos. But there was an insane leak that happened this last week. A concept artist for Marvel has a website with a portfolio, which is, totally normal, where they post art and other things that they've worked on for different projects, and just kind of showing off their work, kind of like their online resume. Well, they had uploaded some photos, digital copies of some concept art that they've worked on for Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars. And apparently this was supposed to stay part of a private portfolio on their website. So probably something that's more like when a production company is looking to hire them.
Yeah.
And they're like, what's some of the more recent stuff you've worked on? You'd send them a link to a protected page where they can access your more recent stuff.
That's a big no-no.
And it went public. So there's probably, I don't know, 10, maybe a couple more, maybe a couple less, photos or concept art of what's to come in Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret War. A lot of Doom, a concept art.
Some cool Doom concept art.
Some really cool Doom concept art. And some other things that I feel like it's too tied to the story that I won't get into. But yeah, so if you haven't seen it yet and you're like, I'm kind of like one of those guys that's like some leaks and stuff don't really bother me.
Yeah. It doesn't give away, at least seeing an image of Doom doesn't give anything away.
Yeah.
I didn't know if I didn't see everything myself, so I don't know if there were characters shown that were, like story leak stuff. I don't know.
I think it's more so that there was just like characters together that you're like, oh, we've never really seen these characters together. Or characters dressed in something very specific that's tied to very specific storylines and comics. So it's
spec opportunities.
Yeah, exactly. So a couple copies have actually hit a key collector, like as in like trending books. Mm-hmm. So there's that. But the concept art is really cool. I sent you one that was like a little bit more, like I didn't think I was gonna really spoil anything for you. But there was a lot that I didn't send you that is.
And I'm debating it. I don't think I really mind to know. Actually, I think I'd rather know for the spec than worrying about a spoiler in the movie, because it won't spoil anything. I'll find out.
Yeah.
I'll know about that stuff before the movie comes out anyway.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know.
I can show you after that.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to see.
Yeah. So, yeah, I will say one thing. There was this sick portrait of Doom. It's just like a solo portrait where he's just like sitting, and he looks so cool.
Yeah.
And then I remembered Robert Downey Jr. is playing Doctor Doom. And I was like, this is less cool now.
Oh, man.
So, yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens.
You're hurting.
We'll see what happens.
You're hurting over it.
You know, I hope I'm wrong. I hope he's the craziest Doctor Doom actor that there ever was. But yeah. Also, with these concept arts, we've seen concept art from past MCU projects where it's looked insane and like super cool, and the movie looks nothing like it. So there is also that.
Right.
So,
do you know when we might get another FF trailer? Any guesses?
Probably March or April.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we're in March, so any day. I mean, I'm ready.
Yeah, I imagine the next trailer will have a Silver Surfer reveal. I think.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I don't know.
Speaking of.
All right. That's our show and tell news.
Yeah.
That took us 20 minutes. That normally takes us 45 minutes.
I know. Well, it's because we're
So-
let's be real. We've been waiting to talk about Daredevil for a year, if not longer.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
We talked about it last episode just to preview it. Well, okay, but can I just? All right, we're not. These is gonna be spoilers all the way, right?
we'll do a non-spoiler segment.
Okay.
Like to like our general thoughts and like
All right.
we'll start
Okay.
with
We'll start with that.
yeah, yeah, and
Okay,
then we'll
then
get
I'll-
into spoilers.
Okay.
So, yeah, first 2 episodes, what do you think?
Yeah, I thought they were 9.98 out of 10. The only 0.8 is for some of that wonky CG in the first episode. And it wasn't even that bad. It was just the way he landed on the catwalk looked a little bit funny. And I got a little nervous when I saw that. I'm like, uh-oh, is this going to be what the whole thing's? And it wasn't. It was just, I don't know. It almost looked like it just sort of slipped through or something. Like they just, but whatever. It was a small thing. Man, the story, it's the pace of it's so good. You know, it obviously starts off with a bang. And the whole first episode is just a roller coaster, the whole thing. And then episode 2, again, we'll get into the more details later, but episode 2 is just a slow burn to what happens at the end. And it's, the end of episode 2 is just dynamite. It's so good. And you can see that they've really taken, the producers, writers, really taken the time to cultivate a story arc. It's clear. You know, I'm wondering how many episodes are we going to have, because how much we haven't seen a lot of the villains yet, but I don't know. The pace is perfect in my mind. For the story. So the story's great. I think it looks great. I love the feel of it, the look of it. To me, it doesn't look any different than the Netflix series. It has the same gritty feel to it when they are in Hell's Kitchen.
Yeah.
You know, if somebody said, well, pick which one's Disney, which one's Netflix, you know, based on what it looks like, I wouldn't really say, oh, one is better or worse. So yeah, no, I love it. I love I don't know how much I can say without revealing a lot. The action scenes are amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Kingpin's lost some weight.
Yeah. Which Matt addresses.
He addresses that, and maybe that's just Vincent D'Onofrio is getting healthier. You know, good for him.
Well, I think it's a character arc thing.
Yeah.
So
because he.
we can talk about it.
But he's as sharp as ever. Like D'Onofrio playing Kingpin. All the actors are on point. In my opinion. I want to see more of Karen Page, and I know I will see more of her. But man, I told you this. I said I haven't watched it. I watched episode 1, and I waited 24 hours before I watched episode 2. And why did I say it? What did I tell you? I have to savor it.
Yeah.
I'm glad that they're letting these out slowly, because when the story isn't good, I don't really care. Let me just watch them all, But when a story is complex and deep, and the characters are deep, and the villains and the heroes are intertwined in unique ways, and it's complicated, I want to take some time between episodes to think about it, to wonder and consider, because I'll wake up in the middle of the night, literally in the middle of the night, and be like, oh, I missed that. Oh, I wonder if, I wonder if what that conversation, if Murdoch was hinting at something when he said this to Kingpin at the restaurant, and that sort of thing. So I don't want to rush through it. I don't want to rush it. And so I watched episode 1, and 24 hours later I watched episode 2, but I cannot wait for episode 3.
Yeah. I'm surprised you did that, because I think it was kind of like, it's almost like the same way that I view like Star Wars, like as George Lucas intended. He wanted you to watch 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
So it's like if Disney Plus is releasing 2 episodes at a time, that I'm seeing that as them telling one cohesive story in these 2 episodes. And then
that's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
But I'm still savoring it.
So what are you gonna do? So they're gonna do they did the first 2 episodes.
Yep.
And the next few episodes are gonna be one a week.
Yeah.
And then the last 2 episodes are releasing together.
Yeah, well, let's be real. When we get to, I'm not going to lie. Like when we get to, I'm not even going to lie to myself. When the last 2 episodes drop, it'll take me 2 hours to watch the last 2 episodes, or whatever. Like I can savor all I want, but there's no such thing as savoring between, let's say it's 10 episodes. Or
it's 9.
It's 9. So between episode 8 and episode 9, there is no savoring. It is just, I'm going to be, going down the chute.
Fair enough.
And I had already gotten your initial take on it because you went on Instagram with a short video, and I commented. I'm like, I can't wait to talk to you about it. At that point, I hadn't watched it, right? I hadn't seen episode 1, but I knew you liked it. So knowing your taste, I assumed I was going to like it. But now the bar, I already had a really high bar.
Yeah.
Now you're saying it's a 10 out of 10. My bar was like, man, okay. And I was not disappointed.
Yeah. It's funny because Dara and I, as soon as we finished watching the 2 episodes, we came into here and we recorded our podcast.
Yeah.
And so I set all this up before, and we recorded it here. And so we were like, yeah, what are we rating it? And it was like, 10 out of 10 to start. Like, that could change depending on how they tell the rest of the story. But as far as a pickup point, and then like laying down some new foundation, I didn't think there's anything wrong with it. Like, I understand the 0.02 for the CGI, but for me, like, I think the whole CGI conversation is going online is really dumb, and I think people trashing this show in the first 2 episodes because of CGI, you're not doing the show any help. Like, you're tanking reviews. You're saying that the show is bad because the CGI is bad. If the story is good, I don't care about the CGI. Right. Like, the first 2 episodes are out. I think it's a great starting point. I have no clue if the story is going to continue to be good or not. But if you're in these first 2 episodes complaining about CGI, saying that CGI sucks, saying that you want to go back to the Netflix days where he's like, it's all choreographed street fighting, martial arts, boxing type stuff. Like, one, you're missing the acrobatic aspect of Daredevil. Like, he is so like look at him fighting Stiltman. Like, you would not get that in the Netflix.
No.
And those Frank Miller panels where Daredevil is scaling the skyline of
I used to have
New
a
York.
poster, a Frank Miller poster of Daredevil just gliding through New York skyline.
It's gorgeous.
Oh my goodness. If I could find that poster again, even though I bought it as a 13-year-old and put it in my room, I would buy it as a 50-something-year-old and put it in my room.
Deb, please. But it's just like, you lose some of that super groundedness that the Netflix had because there was no CGI. But you get a more comic accurate acrobatic Daredevil, which is so like look at the one with Mr. Fear.
Yeah.
He's fighting 3 people and he's using his billy club to like whip himself in like a cartwheel type fashion around. Like that's
He's about to dodge a bullet from behind.
Yeah, like that. It's I don't know. I think it's so much fun. And he's in the Netflix show. He was in a little bit of a different universe, right? Like they were trying to connect it to the MCU, but like the MCU, like at the time they weren't in the same universe. Now it is in the same universe. So now because it's in this bigger universe that has a lot of history,
right,
and with deeper pockets, they can now afford to kind of level the character up a little bit.
Well, like remember when you were talking about that cool fight scene in the animated Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man between Daredevil and Spider-Man?
Yeah.
And you mentioned specifically, at least to me, the cool use of the Billy Club from Daredevil, which you don't really ever see you didn't see it in the Netflix much. It was more just kind of like he was throwing anything. Right?
Yeah.
And I think you did see it a little bit in this movie but in the comic books, that thing, he throws it like the way Bullseye throws cards. Like he ricochets it off things, 4 or 5 things to hit the target he wants to hit.
Yeah.
And so if you can't, I don't know how you do that without some sort of CGI.
Right.
And if you can say, well, we just want it to be all choreographed, then you totally lose that aspect of who Daredevil is, specifically. And I mean, come on, people, for real. Like I honestly think there is a collection of content creators whose job it is literally it's their job to generate content and debate, clicks, and the way to do that is to take a hot take position. And a lot, I mean, the studies are out there. You get more interaction from a negative comment or a negative whatever than you do from saying something positive. So it's more fun to get out there, or it's more maybe profitable to get out there and say, it stinks, it's terrible, the CGI, don't watch it, and because people will get on there and fight them on it. And it's like, yeah, give me that engagement.
Yeah.
I think there's an element to that. And then there's just some people are just curmudgeons, man. That's just the way it is.
Yeah. So I mean, people are like, yeah, after the first 2 episodes, like, yeah, this is never going to be the Netflix show. And I'm just like, man, this is different. Like,
yeah,
like the Netflix show was incredible. It's so good. Everything about it was great.
Yes.
7 years have passed. The show is canceled. Can we not be glad that we have the same actors back?
I know.
Like,
gosh,
like it looks a little bit different. So what? We could not have Charlie Cox as Daredevil right now. Like we could have some new, a complete reboot on those characters.
Yeah, but we actually get to follow we get to follow Matt Murdock as Charlie Cox as Matt Murdock.
Yeah.
And so it feels like the story is continuing.
Yeah. And the other thing about the CGI stuff, man, is like they shot the show. Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio stood up and told the showrunners, told Disney, this isn't going to cut it. We need to change this story. And so episode 1, which, we just watched, episode 8 and episode 9 are all reshoot episodes. So all the story in between is stuff from the old stuff that they had shot, but episodes 1, 8, and 9 are from reshoot. They shot the show in 2023, right? Because the actor who played White Tiger in episode 2, he passed away in December of 2023. So they had filmed all of that stuff earlier in 2023. Then 2023 happens. That's when they start going into edits, post-production stuff. Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio aren't happy. So they stand up. They say, hey, we need to change this. We need to bring Karen and Foggy back because Karen and Foggy were not going to be in the original show. So they're like, okay. So then they go and do reshoots. And that happens in 2024. We're barely in 2025. So you're having post-production happen for episode 1, which is where some of that CGI is, and episodes 8 and 9, which we'll see later. All of that had to happen in less than a year because I was in New York in April. And when we left New York, I remember I was bummed because as soon as we left New York was when they had started the reshoots in New York for Daredevil. And I was like, oh, we could have been there. Like,
man.
We could have just like walked near the set or something. So I remember I was like bummed that it was, I mean, not like
the timing wasn't quite right.
Yeah. So this was all in the span of a couple months to 2 to 3 months to shoot, and then to CGI and edit, like CGI, all that's not easy work.
No.
That's not something you like. People think you just like throw money at it and then it's like like magically like great.
Yeah.
Like
No.
that's not. It takes a lot of time. So, and also, this show, I don't know what its budget is. I'm assuming it doesn't have max Disney Plus TV show budget, and I'm gonna be pretty positive and certain that any reshoots are not gonna have max budget as possible. So the CGI stuff, man, people just gotta let it go. Like, and if it's the reshoot stuff, fine. Like you gotta have grace for that kind of thing. But two, if you get a little bit of wonky CGI for an acrobatic Daredevil, I'm not gonna be mad about that.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean,
So-
if you, just to go back to what I said, if you don't like the show, it doesn't. I don't mean to say I think you're a curmudgeon. There's a lot of reasons, but anybody might decide they don't like a show, right? And maybe by the end I won't like it. Who knows, right? I doubt it based on how it's going, but yeah, ditto to what you said. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
It's just, really, that's what we're gonna like. I'm much more apt to trash a show or not like a show if the story stinks. Like if there's just a logical departure from the whole universe. Like,
Right.
we're talking. I always think of Star Wars Episode 8. It's like the Exhibit A of that whole thing, where like literally in the movie theater, I'm watching, going, "What?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, who made this decision? What,
Yeah.
like this is a betrayal of the whole, and all that." That's fair. But if I see something and I go, "Yeah, the effects weren't perfect," that's not the thing that's going to make me determine whether or not it's worth recommending or watching, unless it's an absolute train wreck, which it wasn't.
Right. Isn't like Doctor Who? Like,
It's horrific. It's always been whatever. I mean, I watched it back when I think it was Tom Baker was the Doctor back in the 80s. So, the early 80s, the effects were behind the times for then, and they were cheesy, and it was part of the charm of it, honestly. They're not trying to do that. Because they don't have to, like, maybe it was the budget, who knows what, but you didn't watch. I mean, even Star Trek, for that matter, if you want to go back to the 60s, it's really cheesy effects, even for the time, like, but the stories were it was about the stories. Anyway, that's a good point. So,
All right, I'll use this as a transition point to spoiler territory.
Yeah, let's go. I get spoily now.
So we're gonna get to spoilers in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, here's why I'm gonna bridge it to what we were just talking about. So I said that episodes 1, 8, and 9 were complete reshoot episodes, and episodes 2 through 7 were from the original show.
Yeah.
So talking about people getting mad and saying that the show's gonna be bad and all this stuff, right? Okay, Foggy's death. We'll get to that. We would have learned about Foggy's death by the funeral thing that was on his counter. That's how we would have learned of his death.
Yeah, right.
Because Foggy was going to die off screen. That's part of why Vincent D'Onofrio and Charlie Cox stood up, was because you can't let a character like that die off screen. So the funeral pamphlet, I'm not sure what they're called.
Yeah.
When he keeps, like, where Matt takes it with him wherever he goes.
Yeah.
That is what we would have gotten. Like, can you imagine?
No, that's horrible.
The first 3 seasons of Netflix and how much we all love that. And then we get to this Daredevil Born Again, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, Foggy died off screen," and
yeah, he got in a fight,
and you're just like, "What?"
Yeah, come on.
Oh.
Yeah, that was the. Am I doing it again? What on earth? I've got different shoes on. They must be very sticky.
I guess so.
Gosh. All right.
I think that's good.
This is going to be an interesting episode. In the middle. Yeah, I didn't know that. I didn't know that was.
I mean, I would probably turn the TV off.
Yeah, I mean that's such a lack of respect for what has gone
Yeah.
before. How can you do that? How can
Yeah.
you just like, yeah, we don't really care about this character. We just don't. We don't want to show him. We don't even want to give him the benefit of letting you see what happened to
Yeah.
him. It'll just be an afterthought.
Yeah.
And then you're somehow supposed to believe that Matt is heartbroken because he's dead, but without the dramatic moment of watching him die. By the way, the thumbnail from last week's episode was spot on.
Yeah, it was.
You predicted it.
So let me talk about this a little bit, since I had my guess had come true. So if you watched last week's episode, yes, I did say I think Foggy's gonna die. I said that Karen is the one who dies in the comics, and I thought that they were gonna switch it up in the show. It was gonna be Foggy. I was right. Let me tell you, I did not expect it to happen in episode 1. I thought this was going to be an end of season type thing. So it caught me fully off guard. So when the scene opens, they're walking out of Murdoch, Karen, and Paige, or Murdoch, Karen, Murdoch, Nelson, Murdoch, and Paige,
Right.
and they're going to Josie's, and I'm literally like, oh, we're gonna get it. They're gonna show us the blip happening from Matt's perspective. I want to see that so bad. So because to Matt, since he's blind, he's gonna be wherever he is, and then he's just gonna hear heartbeats go from beating to just gone.
Yeah.
So when they get into the bar and they have their dialogue volume like really low, and then they're like focusing in on these other conversations, I was like, oh my gosh, they're giving us Matt's perspective and how he's like kind of taking a pulse on the room. Like what are people talking about? Like what's going on? I was like, it's going to happen. Like these people are going to start to vanish. And I was like, okay, Foggy's going outside. Foggy might be the first one to get blipped.
Oh, interesting.
And he's taking the phone call and Matt's listening. I was like, and then Foggy might just like disappear. And then as it started to go on, I was like, wait, this isn't the blip. And then they cut to the scene where the paperclip kills the fly, and then Bullseye fixes the light. And I was like, oh, no way. Mm-hmm. And then
that I
first
thought about
20 minutes.
them showing the blip from Murdoch's perspective. That do you think they'll do it?
I think that they should. I think it would be...
It'd be a very, very cool moment.
Yeah, we know he survived the blip because of Echo.
Yeah.
That like 1 minute scene of Echo that he was in when he was fighting the Tracksuit Mafia was during the blip. That took place during the blip. So we know he was alive. Survived it. So
yeah.
And if it's Matt's luck, then we know that Karen and Foggy definitely didn't survive the blip. And anybody that Matt cared about did not survive the blip.
Nobody. Not a soul.
Yeah.
He's so
But I think
cursed.
I just think it would be really cool, like, because he has the most unique perspective on that moment compared to anybody.
Yeah.
Like, because he, more than any other blind person that exists in the universe, he has enhanced hearing and, superpowers alongside.
That would be amazing.
So I think it'd be really cool, especially if they showed it from. People don't like the from the Netflix show. What did he call his vision? Because in like the Daredevil, the Ben Affleck show, it was like the Echo location.
Yeah.
But then in the Netflix show, it was like something of fire,
I don't remember.
rain of fire, or something like that. And it's like when he's looking at
Field of Fire.
No, it's like when he's looking at Claire, or maybe it's Karen, and then it shows. Yeah. I forgot what they call it, but people really didn't like that. But I'm curious as to like how Matt's senses and how he sees would perceive.
Yeah.
Like what's going on around him.
Maybe they have to do it like in a flashback so it doesn't interfere with the story.
Yeah.
They could do like where he wakes up from a nightmare, like remembering what it was like. They could do that and not interrupt the flow. That'd be cool.
Yeah. I mean, there's still like,
is still in the future in this particular world? Do we know the time?
I think I think right now we're assuming that it's like caught up to modern.
Okay. So then.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I mean, that really is my only qualm with the show so far is like there's 7 years gap between when the show was canceled to where we pick up. But again, we're 2 episodes in. Like it's not really that big of a qualm. It's just like, I hope we can kind of get some holes filled and figure out like what is like
Yeah.
Where are our characters at?
So let's talk about Bullseye for a second.
Yeah.
Is that all we're going to get a Bullseye?
I have no clue. I don't think so.
Okay. Because I mean, I mentioned earlier, I'm wondering how they're going to fit everybody in, because you've got Muse, you got Bullseye, you've got, of course, the Kingpin story. You've got White Tiger's there. Am I missing somebody? Bullet, at least been introduced. How much of a role are all these characters going to play? Punisher, I mentioned, right? Yeah.
Yeah, my guess is that the Muse stuff is going to take place in the middle of the show, and then that's going to get wrapped up. And then because Bullseye wasn't part of they weren't going to bring him back, I imagine he's going to probably come back in episodes 8 and 9. I mean, Kingpin's probably going to bail him out. Like, if it is connected to the Devil's Reign, which there is a lot of like Zdarsky Devil's Reign stuff in these first couple episodes, then in the Devil's Reign, when Kingpin outlaws vigilantism, he hires the Thunderbolts to be his personal like cops to go catch these vigilantes, which, I mean, use villains to go capture the good guys. Let's put that guy in office. Anyways, so he gets the Thunderbolts, it's like Green Goblin. It's not even like the Thunderbolts of like, the upcoming movie where it's like some of them are characters that have already been redeemed and whatever. It's like Green Goblin, Scorpion, like it's like actual like villains. So I think he might need to, I don't think any of those characters, anybody that's ever been under the Thunderbolts roster, is going to show up in this. So I think he might fudge the numbers to get, or fudge the system a little bit to get Bullseye out of jail.
Okay.
And then he'll probably have him be the guy that's like, well, to go get Daredevil, because what the show is setting up right now is that Matt and Wilson Fisk are reformed. Kingpin is no longer Kingpin. He's Wilson Fisk. He's actually trying to do good. We see him start to slip by the end of episode 2, or like in the middle of episode 2. And Matt, he died. He retired the mask. He hasn't been in the mask for a year now. He hasn't been Daredevil. And then you get to the end of the second episode, and he's also started to slip. So they're on this parallel path of, we're reformed men. We're not doing what we once did before. We just want to lead normal lives. Yeah. And that's it. And so that's why I loved, I'm jumping ahead a little bit. We can get there later. But I just want to say, like, I loved when Matt had the 2 corrupt cops in the office or in the room and had his gun to Matt's head. And Matt was saying, don't do this. Please don't do this. I don't think that was him. I think that was him saying, like, don't do this, because I'm not trying to be Daredevil. Yeah. Like, do not unlock this part of me that I've stood away for a year. Yeah. It wasn't like I don't think he was saying, like, don't do this for your sake. I think he was actually saying, don't do this for my sake.
Or he might even have been saying it to himself. Don't do what you're about to do to save yourself, which is lose yourself. Yeah. This is what I was saying, that I wanted it to be one of the things we talked about. What do you want it to be? I wanted it to be, where Matt is in that anguished place, loves and hates Daredevil at the same time, and we're there. Yeah, we're there, and it's only 2 episodes in. I know that we're jumping ahead, but yeah. So that was a great scene.
We'll cut back to the Foggy scene. An incredible one-shot fight between him and Bullseye. Yeah, I mean, and everybody's talking about this online, and it's so good. Is that he's fighting Bullseye, and Bullseye, in between fighting Daredevil, is still killing people. Like, and that's what I was saying last week, is like, we need him to be a harbinger of chaos. Yeah. Like, that's what he is. Like, and when he pops up in other titles or whatever, like, you need to be scared of him. So it's like he's in the middle of fighting Matt, and he's throwing knives at people. He's
He's
throwing
killing grandma
cue
on the
balls.
stairs with a knife.
Yeah,
know?
exactly.
It's
Like
terrible.
Like how like that dude is wicked.
Yeah,
Like that
which
he's
is
doing that.
accurate.
Totally.
Yeah, let's. We already have Frank Castle in the Marvel universe, so he's your guy he straddles that line, right? Let's have Bullseye just be irredeemable, vile, evil.
Yeah.
That's what's needed, and I think that's what we're getting.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, he didn't even say anything in his defense. He's like, I don't have anything to say.
yeah.
And the judge is like, you've shown no remorse and no mercy, and neither will I. That's exactly what I want to see. They're hitting all the right notes on the story.
So they get to the rooftop. Just a beautiful, I mean, the whole time Matt's fighting Bullseye, they bring in Foggy's heartbeat for you to listen to. And I mean, that Matt's paying attention to it because he knows, his friend's going to die. And then they get to the rooftop and they start fighting. And then just this whole 2-3 minute sequence of kind of the moment Foggy dies, I think is beautiful and it gives us so much insight into the characters. So, Foggy dies. Matt and Bullseye are on the roof, and him and Bullseye. I mean, Charlie Cox and Wilson Bethel, is that his name? I'm forgetting his first name. His last name is Bethel. I mean, just a tremendous scene of Charlie or of Matt holding Bullseye, Daredevil holding Bullseye, and asking him why he did it. And Bullseye just laughing in his face. He just killed his best friend, and Bullseye is laughing in his face. And Matt is trying to figure out why. And Karen was trying to stop the blood from Foggy.
Screaming.
Screaming and trying to keep him alive until the paramedics get there. And then he dies, and it's sad and horrific, and then Matt just throws Bullseye off the roof. And people online have had a tough time with this scene. So at the end of season 3, the Netflix portion of the show, that whole season was Matt's no, I don't care. I'm killing Kingpin. I can't keep letting him do this. And he's in the basement of the church with his mom, and he's like, no, I have to kill him. He has to die. He has to stop doing this to the city of New York and to people. It needs to end now, and I'm going to end it. And so he gets into Kingpin's, his penthouse, and they're fighting, and he's about to kill him. He's wailing on him. The scene is so great. And then he says, God knows I want to, but you don't get to destroy who I am. You will go back to prison, and you will live the rest of your miserable life in a cage, knowing you will never have Vanessa, that the city, it rejected you, it beat you, I beat you. So in that moment in season 3, Matt has suppressed all his temptation to become a murderer and to kill. And people are seeing this moment of him throwing Bullseye off the roof as he just is throwing all of that out the window. I think it speaks more to Matt has continued to let these things slide, has continued to let these things go. But now that it's kind of happened in his own circle, now that the death has happened to Foggy, I'm sure in that moment, Matt is thinking back all the way to, from the time he became Daredevil, truly, all the way to everything we saw on Netflix, and thinking of all the times he stopped himself. And now he's probably thinking, well,
out you go.
Yeah, I'm done.
Look, we were talking about this last episode. You have the Marvel comic book story arcs, and then you have your Netflix story arcs, and then you have the Disney story arcs. And we wondered, Elektra dies in a different way in the Netflix way, Netflix run. In the comic book run, in the ultimate book of the 1980s, Daredevil 181, Elektra versus Bullseye, one lives, one wins, one dies. That's the cover.
Yeah.
And we all know the panel. It's been homaged plenty. Bullseye skewers Elektra on her own sword or whatever those things are. Cause it's got a katara. Yeah, something like that. Whatever. It's cool. Kills her with that. she drags herself back to Matt, dies in his arms, and Matt goes as Daredevil in search of Bullseye and finds him, and they fight. And there's a point where he's laid him out and he's barely holding on to like a wire or something like that. And he slips and Daredevil's got him by the arm and he's hanging on to him. And below, it's like 10 stories high, you know, he's holding on and Bullseye's looking up at him and Murdoch lets him go. And Miller never makes it clear. Did he slip? Did Bullseye like wiggle out, or did Murdoch did Matt let him go? I've always felt it was the latter. Matt killed him because he just killed his girlfriend, you know, the love of his life.
Yeah.
So I thought this rendition of Bullseye killing Foggy was very much taken from that Daredevil 181, right up to and including when he throws him off the roof, because he kills him the same way, a fall from a great height that he initiates. That it was up to him as a response to him killing a great love in his life. In this case, his best friend.
Yeah.
So it's not inconsistent at all.
Yeah.
It's actually rooted in some of the best stories of the Matt Murdock Daredevil lore ever.
Yeah.
So, you know, I challenged that thought that it's dispensing the whole history of who Matt is. And I know that we're talking about dealing with different stories and all that, but I loved it. I knew it was going to happen. I knew when they're on the rooftop. I knew it because Daredevil 181 is just ingrained in my head. Yeah. I'm like, oh, he's going off. Yeah. I just thought he might. I thought he might just dangle him and drop him almost as straight out of DD 181. But I like this one better because he just kind of shrugged. He just
there's so much.
It was just shrugged him off.
I think that's what. There seemed to be no thought behind it, like the way that he did it, which is why I'm like, people need more like media literacy. Like you need to be able to like read those things. Yeah. Like Matt was like, you know, crying and Bullseye is laughing at him and his best friend is dead on the ground below. And it wasn't like he didn't like lean beforehand and then not and then go back, where it was like, you know, kind of like there wasn't anything like really premeditated about it. Yeah. I think in that moment, genuinely, like, I think he was like, I'm done being Daredevil. So maybe it was Matt who did it. So it was like in the same way, like, was it, you know, with in the 181, is it Daredevil that lets go or is it Matt that lets go?
Right.
Like who's the one?
And we get a couple clues back to that moment later in episodes 1 and 2, because of course Dex doesn't die because the dude never dies. I don't understand. He's like made out of rubber, right? He comes back and now he's facing his sentencing, and Matt's got to give the pre-sentencing statement, and he says this isn't going to be justice. Because I can't get justice for my friend because my friend's gone. Yeah. But do the most that the law allows. So that's a hint to what his thought process was. And the other one is when he says to Kingpin, a line was crossed. You know? And who was it? Who asked him? Was it Kingpin or somebody else? Did you try to kill? I think it was Kingpin. Did you try to kill Dex?
I don't remember
which one. But anyway, it's exactly what I want. I want anguished Matt. I want Matt. I mean, the series is called, I almost said Born to Run. Isn't that funny? That's hilarious. It is Born Again. And, you know, because he's going to become Daredevil again. Yeah. But you can't be born again unless you die first. Yeah. You know, metaphorically speaking. And so I'm not sure we're done seeing the death of it yet. Like, I don't know. Although I don't know, because the end of episode 2 felt like the stirrings of life again for Daredevil. Yeah. But the fact that we get to have this conversation about Matt, about Daredevil, is exactly what I wanted out of these first 2 episodes. I wanted it to be character driven. Yeah. You know, lots of action, sure, but I wanted the characters throughout the story as they always have in the Daredevil story arcs that we've seen so far. So
Yeah.
Whew. That
So-
first death gave me the chills though,
Yeah.
even though I knew it was coming.
Yeah. I didn't see it coming then.
Well, I did. I knew once Foggy got shot, he was going to die. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, he's gone. This is just going to be painful to watch.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to be so painful to watch, and it was.
So that, yeah, just incredible. To connect with what I last said about how Matt just kind of like, it seemed like there was no thought. He just threw him off like it was nothing. Again, you compare that to the moment in season 3 where he's holding back punches, like where he's about to kill Kingpin or he's ready to push himself to that limit, but he's like holding himself back. So there is some like premeditation. There's some inner term or inner conflict going on where like the good and bad side of him. You don't see any of that same type of acting that Charlie Cox puts on when they're on the roof. Foggy's dead, and I think it's no holds barred at that point. Okay, so another thing I want to talk about, because I've mentioned this before, the escape room pod.
Yeah.
So I saw a clip literally right before you got here on TikTok. One of the guys on the podcast, it's like really mad about this, like just the whole show. And he talks about Vanessa cheating on Kingpin. Where Kingpin or Wilson said, I know about Alex. And so, she had an affair. And she immediately says, just promise me you won't kill him. And Wilson says, okay. And so he's like, in this TikTok clip they post, he's like, just kind of, he's mad. He's like, Kingpin wouldn't do that. Like Kingpin would. So I kind of want to talk about that because this is part of the arc, like Wilson's arc. And I think there's two things going on here. It's very clear that Vanessa is not happy with this good version of Wilson.
Right.
I think she and I'm using the terms here, Wilson and Kingpin, very intentionally.
All right.
I don't think she likes Wilson. I think she likes Kingpin. And you can tell from the very first scene, right, is she wants to run the mob.
Yeah.
Like she wants to be on the street level running things, and she wants Kingpin there to do his thing. Wilson doesn't want to. And I think there's still kind of memories or even thoughts of that last scene in Netflix where if he is doing this, if he's back into this life, then Vanessa's life is on the line. And he doesn't want that. Like Wilson doesn't want Vanessa's life to be at risk. So he's choosing a cleaner path, and he's like, what I was doing for the city as the Kingpin was like completely against the law and dirty. So what if I can do that, but in like as a mayor, and I can still do the exact same things that I want to do. I don't like vigilantes. I want to take them out. So instead of hiring ninjas and Bullseye to try to do that, let me get into office and just make it a law that it's illegal. So now he's trying a different path. So I think when that rooftop scene, when she goes up and he says, I know about Alex, I think she had an affair because she's trying to pull Kingpin out. And when she says, promise me you won't kill him, I don't think she wants to hear, okay, I promise you I won't kill him. I think she wants to hear, I can't make that promise, or no.
Right.
She's trying to pull the Kingpin out of Wilson.
Yeah, that's a good observation. Yeah, she is clearly not happy,
Yeah.
And that what else do you need to know? He's made himself mayor of New York. He's trying to clean up his image, or actually more than just his image, just go straight. And you would think, hey, that's great, because when they first met, he had to kind of reveal that about her, about himself. But no, she's embraced that life 100%, bragging about how she had everything humming when the Kingpin was laid up, thanks to Echo, and feeling really good about it, and clearly looking at this Wilson, who isn't Kingpin, with disdain.
Yeah.
Like really doesn't respect him at all.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't even know why we're here. And she says in the therapist's office, just,
Yeah.
why are we here? I don't know why we're here.
Yeah.
And then he says something that probably makes her skin crawl even more. Well, I just don't want to lose my wife. Like, well, but that's not the man I married.
Yeah.
That would be worried about that. Like,
Yeah.
you're the Kingpin. What do you mean? Like, you don't worry about anything like that,
Yeah.
you know? And I thought the chief of police kind of nailed him when he said, look, you're still like this, whatever we called him, like this kid who just wants everybody to love him. I think there's truth to that.
Yeah.
I think he pegged him on that. And that desire is kind of at the heart of what's is weakened Kingpin into Wilson Fisk. And the thing that Vanessa does not love about him.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. I mean, if you cheating on your husband doesn't get your husband to react,
Yeah.
it's not going to make you happy, right? You're
Yeah.
going to be like, how can I respect that? Like,
Yeah.
I expect you to want to pound this guy into the sand. Like,
Yeah.
whether or not you do it, we're living in the real world here, but in the movie, you expect Kingpin would have thrown him off a roof
Yeah.
or worse, and Vanessa to watch.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
so that's what I love about the story arc here. You mentioned it first. There's two born agains happening here. There's two storylines. Fisk and Matt are being brought to the same ledge. They're both going to get reborn. One's going to get reborn back into vigilantism, and the other's going to get born back into kingpinism. Like it's going to happen, and it's going to and I feel like we're in good hands with the storytellers based on what I've seen so far. I think it's going to happen at the same time with them in the same place, bringing it out of each other. And that's that would be the ultimate, for me.
I mean, they both had a snapping moment, right? Like for Daredevil, it was that fight at the end of episode 2.
Yep.
And for Kingpin, it was the threats from the chief. And so he had to threaten people were saying his family, but I think he was threatening to out his illegitimate son.
And maybe threaten him too,
Yeah.
When he brought him in and he's all, when Fisk brings the chief of police in and he's all, and Fisk is just laughing and, oh yeah, you knew. It was like, oh, okay, here's the old Kingpin, right?
Yeah.
And you didn't see what, everything you would expect to see yet, but it's too early. But when he flipped that whatever it was, the menu out of the way or the baggie out of the way, and you see the pictures, I'm like, ooh, okay.
And then what did he say after that sandwich was horrible or something?
Yeah. Disgusting.
Yeah. Yeah. Like back to the couples therapy point, because that's actually something that I saw in the clip. He was like, Kingpin would never. I agree. Kingpin would not go to
So he's not therapy. Wrong. He's not wrong. He's just not he's not trusting the story arc.
Exactly.
This is where he is in the story. You're right. Kingpin wouldn't do that. And so let's watch.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not. This is a dual character. This dual protagonist piece. Wouldn't say Wilson Fisk is a protagonist. He's an antagonist, but it's 2 point of view. It's 2 point of view characters, in my opinion. We're getting as much up through the eyes of Wilson Fisk as we are through Matt Murdock.
Yeah.
And so they're both going on journeys.
Matt crossing a line and retiring Daredevil is from the Zdarsky run. That's kind of how the Zdarsky run starts. Is he accidentally kills somebody, and that sends him down like a, just kind of
guilt and shame. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Speaking
like a
of
good Catholic.
Yeah.
Speaking.
Yes.
I was raised in a Catholic home, y'all.
Speaking of that guilt, he goes outside the church, and he won't enter. He is carrying all that guilt and shame, and he's listening to the sermon from the outside, and I saw somebody who saw the show like in advance, or the first 2 episodes. No, I think it was the full show. Said that the show lacks religious themes. I mean, that is like what he did in that scene is huge, and it tells us so much about where Matt is internally and in regards to his faith. So, I mean, that's a big tell.
Yeah, I think that's fair. what else do you need to know at this point? You know, not every story has to be overtly about his faith, but to know that he can't enter the house of God in his mind,
Yeah.
that says all you need to know.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so the end of episode 2, he fights those guys. Really cool fight scene. There's like a moment of like really choppy editing where I think it's when he throws the guy on the table and they do like 4 cuts in the span of like a second. It's like, it's really obscure. I don't know why.
They must have had to cut around something.
Yeah. But anyway, I thought the fight scene was really, really cool.
Yeah.
I thought
when he bent the elbow, when he cracked his elbow the other way. Oh my God.
Gosh.
Woo! That was tough, man. That was tough to watch. I was like, ouch.
That was brutal.
I don't like when limbs go, when joints go the wrong way.
The ways that they
hard to
shouldn't.
watch.
Yeah. But we do see that one of the corrupt cops has a Punisher tattoo.
Yeah.
So I have to say one thing. He had the tattoo on the wrong, like facing the wrong way. So like when you get tattoos on your wrist or like forearm, like basically like on the inner arm, or even like basically when you get tattoos on your arm, they're not supposed to be facing you, like directing towards you. So it's like if he had his arm like this and he's looking at it, he would be able to see the Punisher logo. What you should do is, and like what's kind of standard in tattoos, is you get it facing away from you so that it's like when your arms are hanging.
Yeah, like all mine. See?
Yeah, exactly.
You should ask. I could talk about tattoos. I'm an expert.
Sheesh, look at all those inked up. But so that it's kind of like, because if he's just like chilling, you know, everything is like kind of going towards the people that are like looking, as opposed to everything is going to look upside down. So that just, I mean, I know they did it for the shot, right? Because they did it with his left hand.
Yeah.
When he had Matt pinned. And so it's easiest for the left hand for it to be facing him because the camera angle and the way that it's picking it up, it's easiest for us to register in a quick moment like what it is. So, but I was like, it bothered me, but I knew it was for the cinematography more than anything else. But
yeah. Well, we'll keep an eye on that. Maybe see if the
see if it
script
flips
supervisor
back.
keeps that steady, keeps that straight. You know?
Yeah. But this is what is probably going to bring Punisher back around. I don't know. They very clearly in the shooting of it made it obvious to us. I don't know. Matt can he sense a tattoo? I don't know.
I don't know either. I wouldn't think he could, but
because we know in the show, or that in the show when the time comes, because of what was in the trailer, is Matt goes to Punisher. So maybe Matt will find, maybe like that was more so like for the viewer, like we know more than Matt right now. Right. And maybe Matt will discover that these are people like wearing the Punisher skull, and then he's going to go to Punisher, and maybe he's going to be like, hey, are you the one like leading these guys or whatever? But that's going to lead down to an arc from like 2019, I think it was, where cops were wearing the Punisher badge or logo like on their cars, and it kind of mirrored real life because there were cops who, there's like pictures of cop cars with like the Punisher sticker on it, which is just
not great optics, honestly.
Yeah, no,
maybe let's not do that.
Not at all. So they wrote this storyline, and it's like, kind of
it kind of goes against the protect and serve.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and you know, Frank hates cops, and I understand that from his perspective because his family died, and he couldn't get justice by the law. He wanted to bring them back. But he wanted everybody that was part of it to die, and that's not how the law works in every state.
That's what makes the Murdoch, one of the things that makes the Murdoch Frank Castle dynamic so interesting, because Murdoch is bound by the rule of law.
Yeah.
You know? Of course, that's what kind of breaks him. It need to be born again now. But whereas Frank has no such compunction at all, none.
Yeah.
And so I wonder how their paths will cross in this particular, because it could It might. I mean, we're going to see Punisher be Punisher, but I'm more interested in seeing Matt and Frank have a conversation because I think Frank can say some things to Matt that Matt needs to hear.
Yeah.
About, obviously, if there's a way to manage guilt about killing people, Frank knows it.
Yeah, exactly.
He might be able to help him out.
Yeah. Well, there's that. I mean, the iconic scene in season 2 of Daredevil where they're on the rooftop and he has Daredevil chained up.
Yeah.
And they're talking and Punisher tells him, "You knock people down and they get back up. I knock people down and they stay down." Just so good.
I need to watch that season again. I need to do a lot of things. I need more time. Such a great. I love that.
Yeah.
Episode 2 was just. Oh.
Yeah.
Season 2.
Karen, something I forgot to mention in the bar scene before the whole Foggy Bullseye situation, she was trying to bring Matt home.
Well, I did notice that.
She said, "Hey, let's get out of here." And Matt was like, "Doesn't that kind of break our friendship code?"
Yeah.
So I was like, "Whoa!"
And she owned it too. She's like, "Yeah, I guess it does, but she didn't back off it."
Yeah. I was like, "Okay."
Oh
Okay.
man! So now at that point, they flirted, but they haven't been a couple, right?
I mean, I guess they technically might. They dated in the Netflix show.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if they were like.
But
Well, no,
now,
they were official because it became a thing with.
Oh, that's right.
With
Foggy was
Foggy.
like, "You get all the girls."
Yeah.
And all that. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, but now they're partners. Well, they were in the firms.
Yeah, and so yeah, she's an SF now, from what we know, and so there's a theory going around that Foggy is alive, and so I'm actually kind of buying into this theory.
Okay, because I heard somewhere, I don't remember what I the various inputs I'm getting, that the guy who plays Foggy and Deborah Ann Waller both signed up for season 5.
Yeah, season 5, season 2. Yeah.
So, what are we talking about then? We're talking about a lot of flashbacks or something, or
Could be.
is Foggy still actually is he not dead?
So
Help me with your theory. I want to hear this theory.
So I do think that yes, if they sign him on and he's dead as of right now, and the show's not finished, so we don't know what happens, I think it's safe to say as of right now he's dead. If he's brought on for season 2, probably flashbacks. We'll see if we get anything else, any more information by the end of the season. But people have taken note that on I think it was their address outside of Nelson, Murdoch, and Page was the number 438. And the number 438, it would be a legacy number technically, but Daredevil 438. Sorry, let me open up my.
All these Easter eggs.
Yeah, people
are into it.
People say lock. Maybe that's why they hate these shows so much. They're too locked into Easter eggs and not paying enough attention to the story.
Nailed it. I'm just gonna admire the stilt man again. I said 8-0, man.
I know. I got that actually fairly cheap. I'm not signed in here. Oh, Face ID.
I never realized they had back-to-back issues where they had a front page of a newspaper on the cover, kind of recapping what the plot was. Daredevil battles Submariner. Daredevil versus Stiltman.
I always kind of realize when I'm looking at covers how much they actually tell you on the cover. Because I'll look at the art, but I'll hardly read.
Yeah.
But they tell you so much on those covers.
Well, the Silver Age ones? Or just
mostly like the Silver Age
big
stuff.
time.
Yeah.
Lots of words.
Okay, here we go. Sorry. Pulling it up. I think this was issue 88. All right, so their address was 438. So issue 88 of the volume 2 run, which was by Ed Brubaker, which is issue 88, is this right here. It's Daredevil, the Man Without Fear, The Secret Life of Foggy Nelson. So in this issue, Foggy fakes his own death and I haven't read it, but yeah, he fakes his own death in this issue. So here's the thing. I don't think Foggy, especially not knowing what has led up to their relationship and life,
Right.
I don't think Foggy is one to deceive Matt. I think it would make him a huge hypocrite because he's hated Matt for that for a long time. But maybe they'll reveal as the season goes on that maybe there was some threats on his life and he needed to get out. We'll see. But Daredevil Legacy issue 438 is an issue where Foggy fakes his death. And here's where the theory this is what brought me into the theory. Legacy number, I'm like, okay. Like, I guess there's a little something there. But Karen, when they're at the courthouse, refuses to go somewhere private with Matt. Why would she do that? Because she knows Matt can sense when she's lying, can sense when she's telling the truth, can sense when she's hiding something. So
Yeah,
I think maybe she's got Foggy hidden in San Francisco for whatever reason that's unknown to us right now. But when that part was added to that theory alongside the Legacy issue number, I remember thinking it was weird that she didn't want to go anywhere private to talk to Matt. Like, I was like, you're getting mad at him because of the separation he's caused. Like, because he had to grieve in his own way. You know, everybody had to grieve. So you're getting mad at him for that. So then when he says like, okay, let's go talk, you don't want to talk.
interesting.
So that has got me bought into the theory a little bit. To be honest, if Foggy is alive, it's gonna have to make a whole lot of sense because, like I said, I don't think I would really buy it if he was like just deceiving Matt for like no reason. Like there would have to be something significant. And like I said, that's a little bit where like there is some frustration because we don't know kind of that 7-year gap. We don't really know anything. But if they're gonna kind of do a little twist like that, or you know, whatever, I'm sure they're gonna fill in any holes and gaps that we need to know. But that is a theory that's kind of out there right now.
I'm here for it. I'm pumped for all of it. I think those are the types of conversations that are fun to have because it just generates more interest in it, you know.
My theory. So I heard that and I'm just like, okay, well, we heard his heartbeat stop, right? Like, we know. So I don't know how, if it was Karen and Foggy in cahoots. I don't know how they do that. But what if Karen got in contact with Elektra?
Yeah, that exactly.
And she got Foggy revived.
That's what I was gonna say because they're college friends.
Yeah.
Yes. By the way, if you want to know more about the Murdoch, Foggy, Elektra kind of relationship when they were in college, you can get it's a 5-issue miniseries called Daredevil and Elektra, and that's all it focuses on. It was really cool. I found it in the dollar bins and I picked them up and I read them. Like, why? How did I not know these existed?
Yeah.
So anyway, I would love that idea.
Yeah.
Anything that brings Elektra back in, I'm for it.
Yeah.
I love that character and I love what she brings out in Matt and that dynamic, and I love all the ninja stuff too. So
yeah. So something I just remembered when I was talking about Karen being with Foggy there at the end of his life. How good was that scene when Matt throws Bullseye from the top rope and he hits the ground and Karen's like, no. Because in her mind, she doesn't know who it is.
no, she doesn't.
So she's just praying that she didn't just lose Foggy and Matt. So I thought it was...
it was, and the camera movements and how frenetic it was, and it was just a beautiful, heartbreaking scene.
Yeah, it was.
Oh,
all right. So we've talked about Karen. We just brought up Elektra. So now we got to talk about Heather Glenn.
Yeah.
So
we both have the same feeling about Heather.
So also, Kirsten McDuffie is also a love interest of Matt. So there's 3 current love interests of Matt in the show so far.
He better get born again.
this man, there is no stopping Matt Murdock.
Yeah, these
And his love
superheroes,
life.
man. These superheroes.
So, Kirsten McDuffie. It seems though that their relationship is very platonic and professional.
Yeah.
They run a law firm together. She tells Matt like, "Hey, I got this friend that needs like lawyer help. I can't go with you, but she'll be at this cafe." So he shows up, and he probably feels like an idiot because
Yeah.
and well, I guess they both probably feel like an idiot because he's like, "Okay, how can our services help you?" And she's like, "Well, I thought you wanted a therapist." Like, and so
Set up.
turns out it was a setup. They do eventually start dating. Find out that Heather Glenn is a doctor, a therapist. The twist is she also is doing Kingpin and or Wilson and Vanessa's couples therapy.
At the end. Not when they first meet, but that becomes a new client.
Yeah, that becomes a new client. And she's doing a book signing. And the first person we meet that comes up for her signature is kind of Kingpin's new right-hand man, his new Wesley. And so you're thinking like, okay, maybe he's just scoping out like a therapist for Kingpin. Because it's fair to assume that as far as we know right now for Wilson, he's clean. This guy, Buck Cashman, who we know will become Bullet, he kind of has something about him that's like, he seems shadier than Kingpin right now.
Yeah, he does.
So they meet, whatever, and then
It was before it was the kind of tweaked out dude.
Yeah, so before him, I got him switched. But before him was this dude, long hair, kind of looked like he hadn't slept in a while, and he tells her something like, "There's something wrong with me.
I need help.
Yeah, like,
are you taking any more clients?
Yeah, you're taking any more clients?" And so she kind of seems like she's making an exception for him. The assumption is that this is Muse. And pretty much when I saw that scene, I was like, "Yep, she's toast."
Yeah, we both feel the same way that this, because of course Matt can't have nice things.
Of course.
And so she seems like a prime candidate for another pain magnet for Matt.
Yeah,
and to raise the stakes.
And as far as we know, or if you've read Muse's arcs in comics, it's bad. Like what he does is bad. I've described some of it. I mean, you can go read it. It's horrific. The show, they've said that this is going to be darker and more violent than the Netflix show. So I think truly that we are going to witness Heather Glenn die at the hands of Muse in probably one of the most disturbing ways possible. If he's anything remotely like he is in the comics, I think.
Well, that could set up a potential second chance for Matt, where, that happens. He's angry. He has a chance to take revenge, but then hands him off to the law versus killing him.
Redemption arc.
Yeah,
born again.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah,
but
good theory.
Based off of what you're saying, it makes sense. But we'll see, right?
Yeah.
I mean. Oh, man, I hate it. But you guys, this is what we signed up for. This is not Little Mermaid. This is not that.
No, not at all. Not at all. I feel like there was one more thing that I was missing that I had as a talking point.
I do love the character of Vanessa. I think she's just cold-hearted and calculating and smart and scary in her own way. Like she has power over Kingpin. What more do you need to know? Like power over Wilson Fisk, and she isn't afraid to wield it. And just from a comic book perspective, the first appearances or mentions of Vanessa Fisk are, I think they're both in the Spider-Man run, and they're not very expensive comparatively. I wouldn't for you Spider-Man fans. You probably already have that book, but it's probably a good book to pick up.
Yeah, I think I have a couple issues. Definitely I think I got one in the new collection.
I mean, she's a force.
Yeah.
Every time she's on the screen, she's a force.
Yeah.
Because everybody else shrinks away from Fisk, and she's just. I mean, he shrinks in front of her.
Yeah. Whew. She wasn't going to come back either.
Oh, that would have been a loss.
They had recast her, and I think they've even shot some with the recast.
Well, I don't know who they might have recast, but I don't imagine that person doing as well as the current actress is doing, because she's in command when she's on the camera.
Yeah, she is.
It's great.
Yeah.
D'Onofrio is at the convention in New York right now, right?
Elite Expo.
Elite Expo. Yeah.
Tomorrow, I think.
That's tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're gonna have a great time.
Oh yeah. Daniel Blake is a character, a pretty notable actor, the son of, what's his first name? The Sopranos guy, Gandolfini.
Yeah.
His son.
James Gandolfini's son.
Yeah. I feel like this is a theory, okay?
Okay.
This is out there. I feel like he might be an illegitimate son to Wilson.
And he's the kind of fanboy, right?
Yeah.
The one that has all the enthusiasm, and Fisk is like, where did you find him?
Yeah.
When is Fisk going to get rid of his advisor? Because she is not on the right page.
Yeah.
You know, when Fisk gets out, it's like, fill the hole. That was great.
Yeah.
I'm actually rooting for him right now.
Yeah.
But anyway, but this guy.
So I don't think you hire an actor who's, I don't think you hire an actor like him for an original character role. Maybe you do, but even if it's an original character, like meaning the show creates it, he's still like, that just seems too low of a role for him. Like just some social media go-getter like that. I don't know. I think there's more. I think
there's more to the story.
And I think that's why specifically when it came to the chief, because typically, Kingpin would just threaten family. Like, so I think the fact that Kingpin had somehow stumbled upon the fact that he has an illegitimate son, I think that might come back to him in discovering that this guy is his illegitimate son.
That's a cool theory. And don't forget that Fisk and Murdoch had that conversation about kids.
Yeah. Right.
And he said, the closest I've come is I mentored somebody once. And then the great line, didn't she shoot you in the face? or didn't that, I don't think he said she, just didn't that person put a bullet in your face? Or something? Great line. A little mention of Echo in there. So not direct, but I liked it. But I think it's a good theory.
Yeah.
I'm down with that theory.
So, I mean,
you're 1 for 1. Foggy died in the first 15 minutes.
Yeah. And we're going to get the reveal next episode. Oh, man. Yeah, great. I'm looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to the Muse stuff. Literally just open, like those 2 comics that are like super popular. His first appearance and his first cover appearance. If you have them, open them up and just like look inside or go to the digital copies and read. And you'll see some like disturbing stuff. Even the way that like Matt describes, like walking into a room, sensing bodies, but sensing that they're empty of blood.
Oh,
like that's what we're messing with here. So
nasty.
I think it's gonna be hard sleeps at night.
Man, it's a good time to be alive.
True.
We're watching this show. I gotta say,
yeah.
I'm really. I was not let down at all.
Yeah, same. Anything else?
No. I'm good. This is a fun episode.
I think I'm feeling good too. So, thanks everybody for watching and listening. We appreciate it. Be back. The next few weeks will probably just be recaps of Daredevil episodes.
And some crazy show and tell.
Yeah, some crazy show and tell. And so make sure you're back for those.
Yep.
As always. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We really appreciate it. And have a good week.
Yeah, take care.
See ya.